The neighborhood was perfect in every way. Every house looked the same, with neat lawns, trimmed bushes, and shiny mailboxes that matched the fences. Streetlights lit the roads evenly, and every evening the sidewalks were quiet except for the occasional dog walker. Everyone in the community followed the rules set by the Homeowners Association, or HOA as people called it. The HOA made sure that no one painted their house a strange color, built fences too high, or left anything messy outside. The rules were strict. The residents had learned long ago that it was better to follow them. Among all these houses, there was one that seemed ordinary, but it held a secret. The owner of the house was a quiet person who kept to themselves most of the time. They were polite when neighbors said hello, but did not engage in long conversations or neighborhood gossip. People often wondered why someone would choose to live in such a strict neighborhood without being very social. There was something about them that made people curious, but no one knew the full story. Inside the house, things were different. The homeowner had a passion that no one could see from the outside. They loved farming, growing food, and taking care of animals. It was a hobby that gave them peace and joy, a contrast to the pressure of following the HOA rules. Every morning they would wake up early, put on work clothes, and quietly tend to their hidden project behind the house. It was a place that no one in the neighborhood could see, hidden from view by high fences, trees, and clever landscaping. Life in the neighborhood required constant attention to detail. The HOA sent letters regularly, reminding residents about rules and penalties. People could be fined for small things, like leaving trash bins out too long, planting flowers that were not approved, or letting a tree grow too high. The rules created a tense environment where everyone watched each other. Neighbors would whisper about anyone who seemed different or who did not follow the rules perfectly. The pressure to conform was strong. Many people gave up hobbies or ideas that would attract attention. Despite all this, the homeowner kept going with their secret passion. They had chickens that clucked quietly behind the fences, goats that wandered safely in their small pen, and a small orchard with apple and peach trees. Rows of vegetables grew in neat lines, cared for with love and attention. The sounds of the animals and the smell of fresh earth were a comforting escape from the strict rules outside. It was their private world, a place where they could breathe and feel free. Every day the homeowner had to be careful. They worked early in the morning before anyone was awake, or late at night after most neighbors had gone to bed. Tools were stored carefully, and nothing was left where it could be seen from the street. They learned how to be invisible, moving quietly and thinking ahead. Each day brought a new challenge, whether it was keeping the animals hidden, making sure the plants were healthy, or figuring out how to hide a new structure for the farm without anyone noticing. It was a delicate balance between following the rules in front of the world and following their heart in secret. Neighbors occasionally noticed small hints that something was happening. Late-night noises, glimpses of movement behind fences, or the smell of fresh soil would reach the streets. Some people whispered to each other, trying to guess what was happening, but no one could figure it out completely. The homeowner was careful and clever, and no evidence of the farm was ever visible during the daytime. Still, curiosity grew among those who were paying attention. The HOA was always active, sending inspectors around to check if everyone was following the rules. They looked for anything that did not belong, and their presence made the neighborhood tense. Every homeowner knew that if they were caught breaking a rule, they would face fines or other punishments. The pressure was constant, and people learned to hide anything that might be considered unusual. For the homeowner, this meant hiding the farm with extra care, making sure no one could see even a hint of what was behind the house. The quiet life of the homeowner contrasted sharply with the busy, sometimes judgmental life of the neighborhood. Inside the home, there were books about farming, tools neatly arranged, and plans for expanding the hidden garden. It was a world of learning, planning, and creating that brought joy and satisfaction. Outside, they had to be calm, polite, and ordinary, blending in with everyone else. The difference between the two worlds was a secret that the homeowner carried alone every now and then. There were small reminders of the rules and the power of the HOA. A neighbor might be fined for painting a door the wrong color or trimming a bush incorrectly. Letters would arrive in the mailbox, reminding people of restrictions. Social pressure was strong. People feared being judged or losing their reputation in the neighborhood. It was a life where appearances mattered more than personal happiness or creativity. But the homeowner refused to give up on their secret project. It was too important, too personal, and too meaningful. The farm itself was a marvel of hidden design. Chickens were kept in a small but comfortable coop, with nesting boxes and plenty of room to roam. Goats had a pen that was cleverly hidden by bushes and trellises. The orchard was planted in such a way that trees blocked the view from the street, while allowing sunlight to reach the plants. Vegetables were planted in raised beds, carefully arranged to maximize growth while minimizing visibility. Every part of the farm was planned with care and attention, reflection of the homeowner's dedication and creativity. Living with a secret like this was not easy. The homeowner often worried about being discovered, especially when neighbors became more curious or when the HOA inspectors came close. There were moments of fear, moments when the heart raced, and moments when they had to stop work and wait for the right time to continue. Despite these challenges, the joy of seeing plants grow, animals thrive, and a small farm come to life made it all worthwhile. It was a constant balancing act between freedom and control, between passion and the rules of the world outside. In the evenings, the homeowner would sit quietly listening to the sounds of the animals and the rustling of the leaves. There was a sense of peace that could not be found anywhere else. The world outside was strict, judging, and unyielding. But here, behind the fences and trees, there was life, growth, and freedom. It was a place where mistakes could be corrected, where plants could flourish, and where animals could live happily. It was a secret world, a small piece of paradise hidden from the control of others. Despite the challenges, the homeowner continued their work, learning new techniques, planting new crops, and improving the farm. Every success was a small victory, a proof that passion and dedication could thrive even under strict rules. Every day was a careful balance of visibility and invisibility, control and freedom. And while the neighborhood continued its routine with HOA letters, inspections, and whispered conversations, the secret farm grew quietly, a symbol of independence and resilience that no one could see. For now, life under the watchful eyes of the HOA was not easy for anyone, but especially for someone who wanted to live a life different from the rules. The neighborhood was full of people who were polite, careful, and always concerned with appearances. Every fence, every tree, every flower had to follow the exact rules. The HOA sent letters regularly, reminding residents of even the smallest things that were not allowed. Late trash bins, an unusual color on a door, a stray toy on the lawn, all of these could bring a fine. People followed the rules not just out of fear, but also because everyone was watching. Rumors traveled fast. Neighbors whispered about anyone who seemed to be bending the rules. The homeowner had learned to navigate this world carefully. They were quiet, polite, and always acted ordinary when outside. They mowed the lawn, trimmed the bushes, and followed the rules to the letter. On the surface, they were just like everyone else. But behind the house, hidden from view, was a different world. A secret farm had been built with careful planning, hidden by fences, bushes, and trees. The farm was not small. It had chickens, goats, vegetable patches, and fruit trees. The homeowner spent hours each day working on it, planting, watering, feeding, and taking care of everything. It was a world full of life, beauty, and purpose. A place where they could escape from the strict rules outside. Every day was a challenge. The homeowner had to work quietly, often early in the morning or late at night. Tools had to be stored carefully so that no one would see them. Animals had to be kept hidden, and plants had to be arranged in a way that they could grow without being visible from the street. It was a constant balancing act, a mix of fear and joy. The fear came from the possibility of being caught. The joy came from seeing the farm grow and knowing that they had created something beautiful in secret. Neighbors sometimes noticed little hints. A noise at night, the sound of clucking, or a glimpse of movement behind a fence would spark curiosity. Some neighbors whispered to each other, trying to guess what was going on. No one could figure it out completely. The homeowner had thought of everything to keep the farm hidden. Fences were high, bushes were thick, and structures were camouflaged. The secret world was safe for now. Despite all the care, the homeowner knew that exposure was always possible. The HOA sent inspectors to check for violations. They looked at fences, structures, and the smallest details. People in the neighborhood were scared of being fined or punished. Even a small mistake could lead to trouble. For the homeowner, this meant extra caution. Every move had to be planned. Every day required thinking ahead. But the risk was worth it because the farm was a source of happiness and freedom. The farm itself was thriving. Chickens laid eggs in nesting boxes that were carefully hidden from view. Goats played in a small pen surrounded by bushes, safe from anyone's eyes. Vegetables grew in rows, healthy and green, while fruit trees bore apples, peaches, and pears. The homeowner worked tirelessly, making sure that everything was in order. They learned about planting techniques, animal care, and garden planning. Each success brought pride and satisfaction. Each challenge required problem-solving and creativity. It was a life full of learning and accomplishment. The tension between the outside world and the secret world created moments of anxiety. Sometimes a neighbor would walk by at the wrong time. Sometimes an inspector would come unexpectedly. Each time, the homeowner had to stop work, hide evidence, and wait for the right moment. The stress was high, but it also made the moments of peace and joy even sweeter. When the animals were safe, the plants were growing, and no one was watching. It felt like a small victory against a world that demanded conformity. Over time, the homeowner became more confident. They learned to predict when neighbors would be out or when inspectors might visit. They developed routines that allowed them to work efficiently while minimizing risk. They also learned to enjoy the quiet moments, the simple pleasures of tending to animals, planting seeds, and watching life grow. It was a rhythm that balanced caution with passion, rules with creativity, and fear with freedom. The neighborhood itself remained strict. People continued to follow rules carefully, and gossip circulated like wildfire. Some neighbors were suspicious, noticing small oddities, but they could not prove anything. The homeowner had learned to blend in, to appear ordinary, and to maintain the outward image of compliance. At the same time, the secret farm continued to flourish behind the fences. A hidden gem full of life and color. This life of duality was both exhausting and rewarding. The homeowner was constantly aware of the need for secrecy, but the work itself brought immense satisfaction. They could see the results of their effort every day. Vegetables ripened, animals thrived, and the garden grew more beautiful with each passing season. It was a life that required careful planning, constant attention, and patience. But it was also a life that offered independence, creativity, and joy. Evenings were the best time. The neighborhood would be quiet, and the homeowner could move freely in the farm without fear. They would listen to the sounds of the animals, smell the fresh soil, and enjoy the peaceful environment they had created. These moments were deeply personal, moments when they could feel free from the pressures of the outside world. It was a private sanctuary, a reward for all the hard work and careful planning. The homeowner also learned from each challenge. If a plant failed, they studied what went wrong. If an animal needed special care, they researched and adapted. The farm was not just a hobby. It was a constant learning experience. Each success built confidence. Each setback taught patience. And through it all, they remained cautious. Always aware that the HOA could discover the secret at any time, neighbors continued their routines, unaware of the hidden farm. Children played on sidewalks, people walked dogs, and homeowners mowed lawns. The HOA continued inspections and sent letters reminding everyone of the rules. The world outside remained strict, orderly, and predictable. But behind one ordinary house, a different world existed, full of life, growth, and quiet rebellion. It was a secret that gave the homeowner purpose, joy, and a sense of freedom that could not be taken away. The dual life continued, with careful planning and quiet perseverance. Each day brought challenges and rewards. Each night offered moments of peace and satisfaction. The farm grew, animals thrived, and plants flourished. The secret world became a symbol of resilience and determination. a quiet victory over the rigid control of the neighborhood. For now, the homeowner had found a way to live fully, even under the watchful eyes of the HOA, and the farm remained a hidden treasure, waiting for the day it might be revealed. The day the secret farm was discovered started like any other in the neighborhood. The sun was shining, the streets were quiet, residents went about their usual routines, mowing lawns, walking dogs, and checking mailboxes. No one suspected that anything unusual was about to happen. The homeowner, as always, was busy behind the fences, tending to the animals and plants, carefully making sure everything stayed hidden. But that day, a small accident was about to change everything. A neighbor had been walking their dog along the street. When they noticed movement behind the thick bushes at the edge of the property, curious, they stepped a little closer, trying to get a better look. What they saw startled them. Chickens were running freely, goats were playing, and vegetables were neatly growing in rows. Fruit trees were heavy with ripe fruits, and the garden looked well cared for and productive. The neighbor could hardly believe their eyes. They had lived next door for years and had never suspected anything like this. Word spread quickly. The neighbor called another friend who lived nearby, and soon several people had gathered near the fence, whispering and pointing. It did not take long for the news to reach the HOA. Within hours, inspectors arrived, armed with clipboards and cameras. They were determined to see if the homeowner had violated any rules. The quiet, ordinary neighborhood was suddenly filled with excitement, curiosity, and tension. The homeowner was surprised and a little scared when they saw the crowd outside. They had prepared for inspections, but never for a sudden discovery like this. They stepped outside to face the neighbors and HOA officials, their heart pounding. The sight of the farm, fully exposed, was both terrifying and surreal. Chickens clucked loudly, goats bleated, and vegetables swayed gently in the breeze. All of it open for everyone to see. Neighbors had mixed reactions. Some were shocked and angry, believing the homeowner had broken the rules. They whispered about fines, penalties, and possible legal action. Others were amazed, unable to hide their admiration for the secret garden and the effort that had gone into creating it. Cameras clicked as people took pictures, and some even called friends to share the incredible discovery. The homeowner could feel the weight of attention. Realizing that their private world was now public, the HOA inspectors began their work. Walking carefully around the property, measuring fences, checking structures, and taking notes. They asked questions about animals, plants, and structures, trying to determine what rules had been broken. The homeowner explained everything calmly, showing how each animal was cared for, how the plants were arranged, and how the structures were safe and well built. Despite the tension, there was a sense of pride in their voice. This farm had been years of hard work. It was the first time anyone outside had seen it. The confrontation between the homeowner and the HOA was tense. The officials insisted that rules had been broken, pointing to structures, animals, and garden areas that were not allowed. The homeowner argued for the importance of personal freedom, sustainability, and the joy of creating something meaningful. They spoke about how the farm had improved their life, providing fresh food, a sense of purpose, and a connection to nature. Their words were measured but passionate, making some neighbors pause and reconsider their own assumptions. Meanwhile, the excitement in the neighborhood grew. Children peered through fences, neighbors talked in groups, and curiosity spread. Social media posts began to appear, showing pictures of the hidden farm and praising the homeowner's creativity. What was once a quiet, ordinary street had turned into a center of attention, with people from nearby areas coming to see the farm. The homeowner felt a mix of fear and pride, realizing that their secret had become a story for the whole community. Despite the scrutiny, the homeowner remained calm. They continued to care for the animals, feed the chickens, and water the plants, showing that life went on even under the watchful eyes of the crowd. Their confidence grew as people began to ask questions, expressing interest in how the farm was built and maintained. Some neighbors even admitted admiration for the dedication and hard work, while others reluctantly accepted that the farm was impressive. Even if it broke some rules, the media soon arrived, bringing cameras, microphones, and reporters eager to tell the story. Interviews were conducted, pictures were taken, and videos were shared online. The homeowner explained their journey, from the initial idea to the creation of the hidden farm, speaking about challenges, successes, and lessons learned. Their story resonated with many, inspiring others to think about personal freedom, sustainability, and the courage to follow one's passions. The HOA faced a dilemma. On one hand, rules had been broken, and fines or penalties were expected. On the other hand, public opinion was overwhelmingly supportive of the homeowner. People praised the farm, admired the creativity, and criticized the HOA for being too strict. Letters, emails, and social media comments flooded the association, putting pressure on them to reconsider their approach. The situation became a balancing act between enforcing rules and respecting the will of the community. In the following days, discussions continued between the homeowner and the HOA. Negotiations were careful and detailed, addressing safety, structure, and visibility issues. Some compromises were reached, such as allowing parts of the farm to remain while making small adjustments to comply with regulations. The homeowner's calm and reasoned approach helped, showing that rules could coexist with creativity and personal freedom. Slowly, tension gave way to understanding, and the once secret farm became a symbol of resilience and ingenuity. The neighborhood also began to change. Neighbors who were once critical became curious and supportive. Some even started small gardens of their own, inspired by the homeowner's courage. Children learned about animals, plants, and the importance of caring for living things. The hidden farm had sparked interest, conversation, and community spirit. It had become more than just a secret project. It was now a part of the neighborhood's identity. Through it all, the homeowner maintained a sense of humility and grace. They did not boast or show off, but continued their work quietly, feeding animals, tending plants, and enjoying the fruits of their labor. They had faced discovery, fear, and scrutiny, but had emerged stronger, more confident, and more respected. The farm, once a private sanctuary, had become a symbol of perseverance, creativity, and the power of one person to make a difference. As weeks turned into months, life returned to a new kind of normal. The HOA adjusted its rules slightly. Neighbors respected the farm, and the homeowner continued to care for their animals and plants. The story of the secret farm spread beyond the neighborhood, inspiring others to pursue their passions and stand up for personal freedom. What had begun as a quiet, hidden project had become a source of pride, learning, and connection for many. The discovery of the farm changed everything. But it also proved that creativity and determination could thrive even in the most controlled environments. The homeowner had faced fear, uncertainty, and judgment, yet they had not given up. Their dedication and courage turned a secret into a story of inspiration, showing that rules and restrictions could not suppress the human spirit. And while the neighborhood continued to follow the HOA's guidelines, it now did so with a deeper understanding that personal passion and creativity were worth celebrating. Life after the discovery of the farm was different for everyone. The homeowner had faced their fears and the scrutiny of the neighborhood, and now they could finally enjoy a sense of freedom they had never felt before. The initial shock of the exposure had passed, and the community began to settle into a new rhythm, one that included the secret farm as part of the neighborhood's identity. What had once been hidden was now accepted and even admired by many of the neighbors. The HOA had been cautious at first. They were used to enforcing rules strictly and expected resistance or arguments. But the overwhelming support from the community had shifted the balance. People wrote letters, made calls, and shared posts online, praising the homeowner for creativity, hard work, and dedication. Slowly, the HOA realized that the community valued the farm more than rigid enforcement of minor rules. They negotiated compromises, allowing parts of the farm to remain, while making small adjustments to comply with safety and visibility standards. The homeowner worked with the HOA calmly, explaining the importance of each part of the farm and how it contributed to sustainability and personal well-being. Neighbors, who were once skeptical, became curious and engaged. Some children asked to learn about the animals and plants, and the homeowner gladly shared knowledge about chickens, goats, and vegetable gardening. The farm became a place of learning and community interaction. Small groups of neighbors started helping with planting, watering, or harvesting, turning the previously hidden world into a shared experience. It was no longer just the homeowner's secret sanctuary. It became a place where people could connect, learn, and enjoy the beauty of nature together. The farm continued to grow and thrive. New crops were planted seasonally, and animals received excellent care. The homeowner remained meticulous, making sure that everything was healthy and well-maintained. Even with more people around, they managed to keep the farm organized and productive. It became a model of how creativity, dedication, and careful planning could coexist with community living. The farm's success inspired others in the neighborhood to start their own small gardens, whether for vegetables, flowers, or even a few chickens. The Hidden Project had sparked a movement of personal initiative and sustainable living. Social media attention continued to highlight the story. Pictures and videos of the farm were shared widely, attracting praise and admiration from people beyond the neighborhood. The homeowner's approach, balancing caution with creativity and passion, became an example for many who wanted to pursue their dreams without upsetting their surroundings. Articles and posts focused on the ingenuity, care, and determination required to create such a thriving space in a restrictive environment. The story inspired conversations about personal freedom, sustainability, and community support, showing that one person's determination could influence many. Life for the homeowner had changed in ways both big and small. The fear of discovery had been replaced by a sense of accomplishment. They could now walk freely through the farm during the day without hiding, seeing the full result of years of work. Animals were content, plants flourished, and the environment was peaceful and fulfilling. The joy of sharing the farm with neighbors, children, and visitors added a new dimension to the experience. Turning a personal project into a source of community pride, the farm also became a place for celebrations and gatherings. Neighbors would come together during harvest season, picking vegetables and fruits, sharing stories, and learning about animals. Children were fascinated by the chickens and goats, often helping to feed them or gather eggs. These moments created bonds among neighbors, transforming a community that was once judgmental and rigid into one that was more connected and supportive. The hidden farm had become a bridge between people, fostering understanding, curiosity, and shared enjoyment. The homeowner continued to innovate and improve the farm. New crops were experimented with, and methods for better care were tested. Rainwater collection systems, composting, and other sustainable practices were introduced to improve efficiency and reduce waste. Every challenge was met with careful thought and problem solving. The farm was not just a project. It was a continuous journey of learning, growth, and creativity. The sense of purpose it provided was unmatched, bringing a deep satisfaction that could not be measured in material terms. The neighbors, who had once doubted or criticized, began to respect and admire the homeowner's resilience and courage. They saw the dedication it took to maintain the farm, the patience in caring for animals and plants, and the creativity in making it all work within a strict neighborhood. The story became a lesson in perseverance, showing that rules and restrictions did not have to suppress one's passions. Instead, they could be navigated thoughtfully, allowing personal expression and creativity to flourish, even under constraints. Over time, the community itself evolved. The HOA recognized that strict enforcement of every rule was not always the best approach. They began to focus more on safety and general aesthetics, allowing residents to explore personal projects like gardens or small structures that enhance life rather than restricted it. The homeowner's farm had set an example of how a balance between rules and creativity could be achieved, influencing policy and attitudes in the neighborhood. What was once seen as rebellion became a positive change. It's benefiting everyone. The farm story continued to inspire people outside the neighborhood. Friends, distant relatives, and even strangers visited or asked for advice on creating their own gardens and small farms. The homeowner shared experiences openly, emphasizing careful planning, patience, and dedication. They spoke about the importance of pursuing one's passions, the value of sustainability, and the joy that comes from nurturing life. The story resonated with many who felt restricted in their own lives. encouraging them to find ways to follow their dreams responsibly. Throughout all of this, the homeowner remained humble. They did not seek fame or recognition, but focused on the work and joy of the farm. Every animal cared for, every plant grown, and every harvest gathered was a reward in itself. The quiet satisfaction of seeing life thrive, coupled with the positive impact on the community, was far more meaningful than any praise or attention. They continued their routine of care, learning, and innovation, finding fulfillment in the daily rhythms of the farm. The hidden farm had become a symbol of resilience, creativity, and the power of one person to challenge limitations peacefully. It had started as a secret, a personal sanctuary against the pressures of a strict HOA in a judgmental neighborhood. Over time, it grew into a source of inspiration, community connection, and positive change. The homeowner had faced fear, scrutiny, and potential punishment, but they emerged stronger, more confident, and respected by those around them. As the seasons changed, the farm continued to flourish. Spring brought new growth, summer brought abundant harvests, autumn brought colorful fruits and vegetables, and winter brought planning for the next year. The homeowner remained diligent, patient, and joyful, embracing the cycle of life and the lessons it offered. The farm had become more than a project. It was a testament to persistence, dedication, and the beauty of following one's heart. In the end, the story of the hidden farm showed that personal passion, careful planning, and resilience could overcome fear, rules, and judgment. It demonstrated that creativity could thrive even under constraints, and that sharing knowledge and beauty could transform a community. The homeowner had turned a private sanctuary into a source of inspiration and joy for many, leaving a lasting impact that went far beyond the boundaries of the neighborhood. The farm was no longer a secret IT. It was a symbol of freedom, growth, and the courage to pursue what truly matters. After the farm became known to the neighborhood and the story spread beyond, the homeowner realized that their life had changed in ways they could not have imagined. What had begun as a secret project hidden behind fences and bushes had grown into a source of inspiration, education, and joy for many. The attention was both exciting and challenging, but it also brought a new purpose. The homeowner now had the opportunity to turn their private passion into something that could positively affect others. With the farm fully exposed and accepted, the homeowner decided to expand its reach. They started organizing small workshops for neighbors and local children, teaching basic gardening skills, animal care, and sustainable practices. These sessions were informal, hands-on, and full of enthusiasm. Children learned to plant seeds, water vegetables, and feed chickens properly. Adults were curious about composting, rainwater collection, and other sustainable methods. The homeowner's calm guidance and patient explanations made everyone feel welcome, encouraging learning and curiosity. The workshops became popular. The farm became a place where knowledge and creativity could be shared freely as more people got involved. The farm started to grow in unexpected ways. Neighbors who had once been critical now brought ideas, tools, and even plants to contribute. Some helped build small greenhouses, while others shared seeds, compost, or gardening techniques. The farm transformed from a hidden sanctuary into a community project, still led by the homeowner, but enriched by many helping hands. This collaboration created stronger bonds among neighbors, turning a once tense and judgmental street into a supportive and connected community. The homeowner felt a deep sense of fulfillment, seeing their private passion become a shared source of joy. The media attention continued, but the homeowner handled it with humility. They gave interviews about sustainable living, importance of personal creativity, and the lessons learned from balancing rules with passion. People from outside the neighborhood reached out for advice, photos, and guidance on creating their own gardens or small farms. The homeowners shared experiences openly, emphasizing patience, careful planning, and dedication. The story of the one secret farm inspired people far beyond the immediate community, showing that determination and ingenuity could overcome obstacles. Even under restrictive conditions, the farm itself continued to evolve. New crops were introduced, animals were added, and innovative techniques were tested. The homeowner experimented with vertical gardens, companion planting, and natural pest control methods. Each new challenge was met with curiosity and determination. They documented results, adjusted methods, and shared their findings with the neighbors. Children were fascinated by the changes, eagerly participating in experiments. Learning about plant growth, animal behavior, and sustainable practices, the farm had become an educational space, teaching lessons that went far beyond simple gardening with the increased activity. The homeowner also focused on organization and safety. Paths were cleared, fences reinforced, and areas designated for visitors. Signs were posted with instructions and explanations, ensuring that everyone could participate safely and learn effectively. The farm became a model of careful planning, creativity, and inclusivity. The homeowner's attention to detail allowed the farm to operate smoothly, even with a growing number of participants. It was a delicate balance, but the structure and thoughtful design made it possible for the farm to thrive as both a personal passion and a community resource. The community continued to change around the farm. Neighbors became more open-minded and supportive of each other's personal projects. Small gardens appeared in yards, fruit trees were planted, and families took an interest in sustainable living. The HOA also adapted, recognizing that strict rules could coexist with personal creativity and community engagement. The farm had demonstrated that rules did not have to suppress innovation or passion, but could be balanced with careful planning and consideration for others. The story of the hidden farm became a lesson in compromise, respect, the power of personal initiative. The homeowner also reflected on personal growth. The journey from secrecy to community engagement had taught patience, resilience, and the value of quiet determination. Fear had been replaced by confidence, anxiety by satisfaction, and secrecy by openness. Every challenge had been an opportunity to learn, and every success had reinforced the joy of persistence. The farm had become not just a place of work, but a space for reflection, growth, and human connection. It was a living testament to the rewards of dedication and the importance of pursuing one's passions, despite obstacles. As the seasons changed, the farm remained dynamic and vibrant. Spring brought new seedlings, summer offered abundant harvests. Autumn provided colorful fruits and vegetables, and winter allowed planning for the next cycle. The homeowner embraced the rhythm of nature, teaching others to appreciate patience and the satisfaction that comes from nurturing life. Each season presented challenges and opportunities, but also moments of beauty and accomplishment. The farm was a living, evolving story that reflected the homeowner's dedication and creativity. The impact of the farm extended beyond the neighborhood. Schools invited the homeowner to speak about sustainability. Local groups sought advice on community gardening, and individuals reached out to learn about animal care and planting techniques. The farm had become an example of how one person's vision could influence and inspire many. The homeowner shared experiences generously, emphasizing the importance of creativity, persistence, and respect for both rules and personal passions. Their story became a beacon for those seeking to balance personal interests with the expectations of their surroundings. The homeowner also focused on long-term sustainability. They introduced composting areas, rainwater collection systems, and organic pest control. These practices not only improved the farm, but also served as lessons for visitors. Children learned how waste could be transformed into valuable resources, how water could be conserved, and how natural methods could protect plants. The farm became a center for learning and experimentation, showing that sustainable practices were practical, rewarding, and enjoyable. The homeowner's careful attention to these details enhanced both the educational and ecological value of the farm. Despite the growth, the homeowner maintained a sense of balance and humility. They continued daily routines, feeding animals, watering plants, and caring for the garden with the same dedication as before. Every action was intentional, reflecting the lessons learned over the years of secrecy and planning. Visitors were welcomed, but the homeowner ensured that the farm remained well-maintained, productive, and harmonious. This careful balance allowed the farm to thrive as both a personal passion and a communal resource. The story of the farm became intertwined with the identity of the neighborhood. What was once a quiet street with strict rules transformed into a community that celebrated creativity, learning, and sustainable living. Neighbors learned to appreciate each other's passions, support personal initiatives, and value collaboration. The homeowner's dedication had not only created a thriving farm, but had also inspired cultural and social change. The farm was no longer just a physical space. It was a symbol of determination, creativity, and the positive impact one person could have on a community. Through the journey from secrecy to acceptance, the homeowner discovered the deeper meaning of their work. The farm was about more than growing food or caring for animals. It was about resilience, personal growth, and the ability to create something meaningful, even under restrictions. Every plant, every animal, and every visitor represented a lesson in patience, dedication, and the joy of contributing to something larger than oneself. The farm had become a living story, teaching lessons that extended beyond its fences. In the end, the farm stood as a testament to human creativity and persistence. The homeowner had turned a hidden passion into a source of education, inspiration, and community engagement. They had faced fear, judgment, and uncertainty, but had emerged with a thriving sanctuary that nurtured both life and learning. The farm's story continued to grow, touching lives, teaching lessons, and proving that personal passion, careful planning, and determination could overcome obstacles and transform a community. The hidden farm was no longer a secret. It was a legacy of courage, creativity, and the enduring power of one person's vision.